we are probably going to be moving into TLR versus OSD for the next series. But OSD looking convincing, even with some unconventional strategies.
I mean, you can argue that a strategy is conventional, but clearly it's something that they were comfortable with in terms of the heroes they were practicing on it. We didn't see any unusual builds or anything like that. It was just things that they're kind of used to doing. Oh, Woven was a little aggressive in the early game when but he pulled back. He started being like, no, I'm gonna finish stacking and then I'll be aggressive. The Lamb into the precision strikes, the charges in the precision strikes, there were obviously good calms and how those abilities should be used together. And so obviously they were just a much superior team, but they were taking it very, very seriously in the way they were executing the calm.
Yeah, it's one of the things I enjoy the most in Heroes of the Storm. Picking something unusual, picking something that people go like, what? That's terrible, especially, if you were playing Hero League, but well executed with thought put behind it. Like you said, the Lamb to the Slaughter into the Precision Strike. I really feel like it was a strong indictment on the Falstad first pick, because in a team of super tanky heroes, ETC, Blaze, Greymane, not super tanky, but not super vulnerable, they managed to get the picks on the Malf and the Falstad every time and not be disrupted. And I love seeing something unusual executed well, a la Cloud9, BlizzCon champions. It's always fun. It's always fun to watch.
And again, Enigmatic in Twitch chat, letting us into the secret thought process of Order of the Sleeping Dragon. They wanted to deny showing strats to TLR, so we have to blame Woven for that. Obviously, TLR with a buy is probably watching. So game 1, they picked a bunch of comfort heroes. Game 2, they picked a bunch of also comfort but off meta heroes, and now they're going to go in with TLR, with TLR knowing nothing about what they actually think is good in the current meta.
Yeah, but I think that from the professional games that we've seen in the last couple weeks, that we all know. It's like, what are you hiding? We all know about Urel, Decker, Johanna, Raynor. We're well up on this meta because this is.
It's the Clash meta. It's we've seen 4 regions takes on what the meta is. We've seen the Maiev. We know Hammer is not dead. We know Tracer is basically dead unless she has a Tracer, or unless she has a Malfurion or a Tassadar. Diablo is
of
around.
course, how could I forget?
Maiev is around. So unless you're ahead of the meta, unless you're like, okay, yeah, Maev's in the meta, but we know it counters Maiev. We're confident that we can counter any Maiev we run into. I think it's true that you're not really necessarily hiding much, but you're definitely hiding something. And we are getting the bans coming in for our next set here. Looks like OSD is going to be banning Braxis. This is a rather popular ban for a lot of teams. Interesting. It's interesting that Braxis is banned so consistently. Generally, top teams, what they do is they'll never practice a map. They'll have a map. It's their ban map, and they literally never practice it because it makes their practice more efficient, and they can practice only 8 maps, and they know they're only going to play those 8 maps. But I always think it's interesting when teams ban Braxis, because while Braxis is kind of cheesable, it's the single largest difference between first and second win rate in professional play is Braxis holdout. First pick has a huge advantage. So if you ban Braxis, but you're never, and you'd never pick it,
your opponent has to pick
the enemy team has to pick it and bring you to it, and you get first pick on it. So I'm not a big fan of banning Braxis for teams. I think that the team should practice it only from first pick and be like, yeah, if we ever go to Braxis, we're gonna win because we know we're gonna have the draft advantage.
Do you think that's because the style of Braxis very much plays into certain heroes being phenomenally stronger on the map? Genji, Muradin, just any hero that can really rotate extremely quickly. Dahaka is a high priority. Do you feel like because those heroes bump in strength so much, that's why the first pick becomes so advantageous?
It's actually a little bit more interesting than that. There was a meta for Brax. It was the 1-4, and you took a bunch of sustain and push heroes, and you just pushed really hard. And then Fnatic countered it with double globals. They had this 1-4 split, but they would have their global come down, and then they would have the global in the 4-man go up, and they would never miss soak as a result, but they would keep forcing these 5v4s. And then 2-3 came out to counter that, and then Abathur's solo support, which is basically the best global in the game, with a 1-3-1, kind of came out to counter that. So there's 5 distinct strategies on Brax's holdout, and one of them at least counters one of the other ones, and there's some overlap between heroes. But from first pick, you get to pick the strategy you want, and you get to ban the counters to it first. So you just get to pick which strategy you're going to go for and deny the enemy team the counter strategy every time. So if you understand the map, it's almost impossible to lose the draft from first pick, because you've limited what the team can do. There's only so many heroes that do certain things in terms of like anti-siege, in terms of having the shield meta. It's the reason Zarya was very, very popular on the map in terms of the globals that you need. So it's a tricky map to understand, but once you get it,
I would love to see some Brax's game. So yeah, and that is so interesting what you're saying about banning it and not picking it and all of that. I wonder if these players know that, or if they're going to find it out after watching their VODs. Getting a little lesson from Professor Cavalier here. So that being said, OSD bans it. TLR bans Dragonshire, which we just saw OSD perform extremely well on. And OSD is going to take us right to Volskaya,
which is a very team fight centric map. It's the only interesting thing about Volskaya really is how much experience the item camps give. The support camp gives like a little bit more than a wave's worth of experience, almost 1.5. The turret camp basically gives a wave's worth of experience. So we talk about how important not missing soak is in general, but if you're not getting the turret camp on cooldown on Volskaya, you're actually missing soak. And if the enemy team invades and steals your turret, not only have you missed soak, they've gotten soak that you cannot recover. In professional play, we see all the time the difference between getting 7 first and not getting 7 first isn't kills. It's who got the support camp. And if you get 7 first and you win the objective off of that, and then that gets you 10 first, the map can snowball really hard just off of consistently getting those item camps.
Yeah, and I have seen some teams go for that style of draft, specifically looking for an early team engagement, and then they rotate down and sort of sneak into that invasion on the first camp. And if you're successful, you can get a huge advantage. If you're unsuccessful, it is a bit of a risk. But I think you're right. It's one of the few ways to get a real early advantage in Volskaya. I mean, there aren't many others.
And they're not. And we've seen like a couple teams manage to successfully give up the first objective in professional play and be even for the second one by just soaking aggressively the entire time. But it's very rare. Really standard bans coming out here though. Maiev, Diablo, and then Genji, Urel. Genji again is like a very unique hero. No one else really operates the way he does. And first pick Deckard, I like that a lot. Top support being picked in the first pick slot, that makes a lot of sense to me.
And he controls area so well, and this is one of those maps where there's a lot of those small chokes down towards the bot and top lanes, and also the choke points entering into the objectives. So gonna see a lot of big combos coming out of Deckard on this map, and Murd and Blaze as the counter pick for OSD. Solid picks. Blaze, one of the top offlaners other than Urel, and both with a ton of CC and a ton of mobility. I mean, solid overall picks.
And it doesn't reveal much about your strategy. Murden has one of the most generic tanking kits in the game. It doesn't necessarily lend itself to any particular kind of comp, other than you kind of want fast fights. Phoenix Stitches, though. My immediate question, and we're not going to find it to level 10, is this Bile or is this Gorge? If it's Bile, it can set up for Salvo. That's actually one of the best setups for Salvo in the game is Stitches Bile. We don't see it very often. I think we've only seen it in 2 games in professional play, actually, but it's been very successful both games it happened. But Gorge, if you're winning on Volskaya, all your walls are usually up. So Gorge can be really good. And immediately you got a question, is indeed comp? Are they going for some kind of support shenanigans? But Leoric ban, yes, they don't think that's what's happening.
Yeah, because this doesn't reveal. It does reveal the stitches, but it doesn't reveal too much about your DPS approach. Are you just going to use the stitches, like you said, with the bile to set up and just be solid displacement before the team fights, or are you doing a full-blown pick comp? Are you trying to bring them back to the wall? Are you going to do something super cheeky like Medivh, like you said, or even a Kael'thas? Because both of these drafts don't show much, I think, like you pointed out. What do you expect to see coming out for support out of OSD, and what about follow-up assassins?
The nice thing about where they are right now is they pick up Malfurion. I was gonna say they can pick up literally any support they want to because they have buff as a save mechanic. So they don't need a save mechanic from their support. They don't need an ancestral. They don't necessarily need even cleanse. They're free to pick whatever they think best fits their. It doesn't end up being that Malfurion. That seems scary to me. You can't pre-cleanse hooks, which is obviously a big risk. You can't ice block getting hooked yourself anymore. It is difficult to follow up Citrus Hooks with Deckard's Root, so I expect to see a follow-up CC drafted. And here's Kael'thas Medivh. Okay, so they stuck to the meta. Like, this is the most standard style of comp that you could ask for when you see an early Citrus pick.
Yeah, it's tried and true. It's reliable. I think, like you said, though, the Deckard offers more strength overall than Malfurion, but Malfurion offered that really obvious, consistent route. And we have a new Chromie pick. This is new Chromie.
It's old Chromie.
Right? This is old Chromie.
This is old Chromie.
So we have Chromie, extremely powerful pick on this map. Tough into Medivh, but able to poke KT and Phoenix pretty effectively.
Although you never know with Chromie, because she can travel in time. So there's she has that going for it. This is such
new
an
Chromie, old Chromie. Yeah, it's hard to say.
We don't normally see the objective go all the way to level 8, so Chromie's heroic level 8 spike is not normally relevant. But if people can test the objective for long enough and just poke back and forth, it can be. I mean, if you ever have a Stitches comp, you are just looking for that hook. You don't really have an engaged mechanic outside of that. So if they keep missing the hooks, maybe this goes to 8, and then Chromie gets her level 8 power spike, and then maybe they can do something with that.
I feel like it's going to come strongly down onto Woven and Trent being aware of where they are and where Stitches is on the map, because Murd and Blaze, for the most part, will be all right if they get hooked. Blaze may be able to get combo down, but and Chromie will, for the most part, be in a safe position. So on the left side, we have TLR, we have Fats playing Stitches, Free PX playing Kael'thas, Jeb Taco Bitos on Medivh, plus Ultra coming in on Phoenix, and Suryu on Old Man Deckard Cain.
On the right-hand side of the map, the order being Dragon, Woven on Thrall, Mandy on Blaze, Enigmatic on that Chromie, Old Chromie, and Trinth on Malfurion. A little bit of surprising pickup for me at level 1 on Medivh. Raven's Intellect. When you're in Raven form, your mana and health regenerate increase. We normally, at this point, now that it's no longer bugged and actually allowed to be picked, see Portal Mastery picked up at level 1 on Medivh, just because you can warn your team. You put down the initial portal and you don't have to put down the other half of it until later, but your team can see where that initial portal is going to be, so they know that, oh yeah, this is where it's going to be. So if you want to portal onto someone and look for something, there's a warning. That cognitive, like, advanced warning, that alone is enough for pros to be like, yeah, this is the talent we want, pretty much all the time. So it's interesting that they're not going for that, even though they are, of course, doing this in a coordinated fashion. You're going to see just a really standard rotation here. Woven. Oh, the portal in, looking for something, the Malfruits. We didn't mention this in the draft, but it's something really important to consider as Enigmatic goes down. Malfurion is one of the best counters to Medivh, because if you always root the portal exit, as they come through the portals actually lose a lot of value. And we see this is such a good decision coming out from TLR. Whenever you get picks on Volskaya, you should immediately go to the support camp. Again, it gives you that massive amount of experience. 635 experience, guys, from that camp. A wave at this point in the game is worth less than 500 experience. So that's a huge advantage. And we are going to see both teams getting out their turret camps in the interim, continuing to set lanes. Not an unconquerable experience advantage for TLR, but certainly what you want in the game.
It is huge for this early in the game, and OSD already took their turret camp, so the turret XP is going to be coming in for TLR as well. Kael'Thas a little far forward, Corgi Booty looking to pressure him, see if he can get him out of lane, but Kael'Thas low on mana. He's going to tap and just go back down to soaking mid along with the rest of his team. But again, level 4 advantage, about a half a level experience advantage for TLR. It's a good start for Stitch's Gone.
Corgi just trying to interfere with the rotation there, getting a Q stack while he's at it. This is something that's important to do as a tank, is interfere, slow down the enemy team's rotations, because they are just going to clear and rotate, clear and rotate, clear and rotate, and your team's trying to do the same thing. And if you can't clear faster, you can make them clear slower. Beautiful hook on Enigmatic, but Corgi jumps in with the slow, with the peel, and Enigmatic's just trying to get his stacks up at this point. 8 stacks so far, Bronze Talons available at level 2. We're actually seeing Thrall go for the quest at level 4. That's going to be Frost Wolf Pack. So he has to hit 6 heroes with his wolf without missing, and then he finishes the quest. If he ever misses, it resets, and he has to start all over again. Should be relatively easy to finish on this map in particular, just because of the brawl that's going to happen over the objective in the very near future. Phoenix with the blink out, the preemptive blink out, he knows he was out of position.
Stitches tends to be an easy target hit to get your stacks onto. He tends to stand out front, and he doesn't have any movement abilities. Suryu almost running right into that time trap, but thinking better of his positioning. TLR trying to post up on the objective, but the control is actually over to OSD right now. Enigmatic getting hooked in, and the follow-up route to try to stop that is not enough. KT finishing him off. Manby also taking too much damage. KT in the backline just dishing out a ton of it. Corgi Booty retreating there, and about a half-level lead advantage still going on to TLR. They're going to take control of the objective here and start splitting up and soaking, but it's not too out of control, I don't think.
Yeah, not yet. It is 52 seconds to get the objective from 0 to 100 rather. They will be able to get level 7 in that time frame if they're soaking lanes and recontest. If they choose to do so, they're not going to get that level 8 advantage. I don't see that happening at all if they want to get the objective. They have to win it 7-7. Phoenix using that nice little skill trick with the W swapping to clear the top wave a little bit faster. And both teams getting out their turret camp again, so they will have the double turret item. But they're going to look for the invade here. Fast, the hook off the point. Medivh comes down, force of will on the jet propulsion. He's going to be absolutely fine. He needs to get out of here before he loses his stacks. Barely gets away. They don't quite manage to successfully do that invade, but it was a valiant effort.
Yeah, a lot of damage going out onto KT and Medivh, but they both successfully back up, get some potion. Now they're ready to brawl again. OSD trying to move in, trying to contest this overtime. Corgi Booty jumping over the wall, but protection going out onto Medivh. Medivh taking a lot of damage, but able to just simply walk away. Corgi Booty gonna have to back up a little bit and try to regen, but a lot of poke damage not making that possible. Corgi Booty with a full evac, and it looks like this is still out. Actually, OSD managing to push TLR off at the last minute and retake control.
Well, been a little bit out of mana here. Everyone will be able to tap and re-engage here. I believe they'll have it available. It's Ultra in the bottom lane catching that soak. You can see top still pushing in. That Merc Camp is going to get some value. Kael'Thas actually leaving to clear it. They're deciding to give at least some percentage here in order to deny this this soak, but they need to get back if they want to do it. Plus Ultra, in the meanwhile, stepped up to poke, got caught on the rotation. Not ideal. The hook maybe even the situation out, but the follow-up gravity lapse actually misses. Woven ends up being safe for the moment, and they have a lot of low health numbers, so that's fine. They can just get in the protector.
Talk about threading the needle with that hook. It was absolutely incredibly good. Woven a little bit low on mana. He did complete his Frostwolf pack there in that first fight, so a little bit of relief coming in for Woven. He doesn't have to worry too much about that. And now you can just use your wolf to clear the waves, fire it off. It's only a 6-second cooldown at this point, so really effective for immobilizing Stitches, Deckard, and the whole team. You're not going to be able to get too much damage in there. Typical rotation where you take out the top wall and because the second objective always spawns up there in the top lane. So you just give yourself a little bit of that rotational advantage, but they're equalizing the XP, and now both teams are going to be real close on level 10. Manby getting hooked back in after using the jet propulsion out, but the big root coming out on the Bats. Bats taking about 50% HP damage with the big Gorge on the Thrall. That answers our question. Thrall going to be taking all the damage from the turret. Blaze falling. Woven not able to turn, trying to run. That's going to be a 2 for 0 with the 10 advantage. Really unfortunate. Another hook coming on the Corgi Booty after the portal. Wow, the Chromie damage. Enigmatic Blaze.
It's not every day you get to see a 4-man's Dragon's Eye. Unfortunately, didn't lead to anything, but beautiful to see off that route. And again, that deep roots at level 4 from Malfurion going to counter portals even harder, increasing the area around the portal where it's just simply not safe to go without getting rooted. And it looks like they're going to be able to get Sport Camp off of those kills. I don't think that they can bully in on here. Corgi Booty does pop Avatar, but he gets Pyroblasted to the face, and that will be enough to take him down. Bunker going for the re-engage here despite everything said. They're continuing to burn heroics. They're just looking for kills at this point. They do end up getting 1 kill, but considering they gave up 3 and the support camp for it, they did not really come out on top of that overall if you look at the last minute and a half.
No, they really didn't, and that was difficult engagement. Murden running in the Polybomb into Pyro. I was gonna note both of those ults, but they used them both immediately, so didn't even have to say anything. And just as quickly as OSD put themselves back in this game with the first Protector, they're sort of right back in the position that they were in.
At this point, I'm just really hopeful this game gets to level 20 because Hungry Stitches plus the upgraded Polybomb is in fact one of the most hilarious things in the entire game. Especially if you get rooted out of it, it continues to spread for quite a long time, and there's actually nothing you can do to stop it. Plus Ultra getting caught out a little bit again. The portal goes down, tempting to save it, but not quite enough.
The rotational picks out of OSD are like top notch. They're really making sure they have vision of the right areas and catching Phoenix specifically in those rotations. It's working to their advantage and shows you how this is a resilient team that's able to stay in the game, that even they're on the back foot a little bit.
It's unusual, though. You don't normally talk about rotational picks into a Medivh. One of the major advantages of a Medivh is that you always have vision of where the enemy team is, because you just hover over them. In fact, he's even finished his Master's Touch quest, so he actually has nothing to do in this game except portal people around and keep an eye on the enemy team so these picks don't happen. And so far, he's not quite fulfilling that responsibility for his team. He wants to eat his own tacos, doesn't want to share his tacos, and he figures if he's dead, that's a really easy way to go about not having to share his tacos.
Yeah,
it's probably not the real explanation, but it's funny.
If you stay up as a bird, no one can get your tacos up in the air. You can hold them close to your breast and never let them go. We do have a little bit of engagement coming out here. Woven taking a lot of damage and actually is going to fall almost immediately to the kill toss. It looks like he was looking for the pick, but that's able to control him just enough. The Gorge coming out on the Corgi Booty backing, and should be enough to survive the Pyro. Yeah, the Avatar may be unnecessary, but just a safe play. And the Pyro and the Scan were both burned. Still advantageous for TLR. So every time OSD turns around and gets one of those big picks, TLR sort of does the same thing with the Medivh Stitches. And this continues to be just about a 3/4 of a level game. Oh, big hook! Just barely missing.
We can see Corgi Booty actually sitting on the point here, preventing them from getting charged while they wait for
he has no Avatar.
Does not. He does have healing static at 13, which is going to help him quite a bit. Speaking of 13 talents, we do see Fission Bomb pick up for Kel'Thas. This is a talent we did not see in the games of Eastern Clash where Kel'Thas was played. We always saw the CDR picked up, but this Fission Bomb increases the range of bomb's explosion by 20%, so it's going to increase the likelihood that it does spread into this triple melee combo. And there's the Gorge, there's the portal, the Milk Carton is an alive and well combo. The follow-ups you see is a real thing, even with the Polybomb, and you know, you have to burn a lot of things to do it, but it's a guaranteed kill every time if you do it right.
Yeah, and it looked well practiced there. You know, perfectly executed, even onto a Muradin, probably one of the hardest heroes to kill in the entire game. And if you can kill a Muradin with that, you can kill basically anybody. Woven taking too much damage from Phoenix and Medivh in the mid lane. So staggered death, another 25 seconds before Thrall comes up. The control going over to TLR, and the control of the game just staying firmly in TLR's hands. This is tough.
It is. We're going to see the support camp picked up, and we're going to see again the turret camps picked up on cooldown again. This is really important, especially if you're behind. You need this experience ahead. You're furthering your lead even more. Chromie 5 Q stacks away from getting her Echo. That will be a significant power spike for her. And at this rate, I think if TLR executes correctly, they're going to be able to get 17, 18 off of this Punisher, which I believe they should get. And if that happens, they'll be 20 for the next one. So really, this is the point in the game where OSD is like, yeah, we're going to be in a losing position if we don't win this Punisher. But 16 can be soaked for TLR. Not enough percentage has been set up. So if they just wait for Phoenix, and you can see they're sending Phoenix to get 16 mid while they just look for these hook, kidnap combos that they know are guaranteed 3 kills. TLR has set themselves up in a position where they're very likely to win, and OSD needs to make something happen in a dramatic fashion.
I think Woven looking for something on the backline. 3-man route onto Phoenix, Medivh, and Suryu, but the Gorge coming out on the Thrall, and he's going to be taken back to the land of no return. Corgi Booty trying to come in and peel for Thrall, but just not enough. Once that portal comes out, the Gorge is right on point, well practiced, and this is really difficult for OSD to pull themselves out of.
Pyro was canceled there by the Gorge, so a little bit of anti-synergy. Maybe miscommunication on comms about what exactly was going to happen to that Thrall. Pyro, by the way, does scale at 5%, so these marginal kills that we're seeing where people barely live from it are going to cease to happen as this game goes on, because that scaling will start to have a large impact on the damage potential.
Yeah, it is actually terrifying against a team that only the bunker is there, but I haven't really seen the bunker save come out for the Pyro. They're holding the Pyro till late enough in the fight that it is getting a lot of value. This Protector pushing down onto the mid lane, Corgi Booty and Enigmatic trying to siege down onto it as much as they can. Manby and Bliss Ultra just soaking in the bottom lane, trying to match up. OSD just looking for level 16, Woven trying to dish out as much damage as he can onto this Protector. Just so very close to level 16, trying to get that talent, but the mid fort will fall. I like the safe play there. Nothing too aggressive out of OSD.
Yeah, and it is a very safe play because they're gonna get 20 now. They're playing for 20 essentially on the next objective. They could have potentially 5-manned and gotten a keep on this objective, but it wouldn't necessarily have been guaranteed or gotten them the max amount of experience. They're playing for the experience, and they're playing for kidnaps. Also, every fort you take down with this style of comp, with the kidnap comp specifically, is less places for the enemy team to run to safely, and that means that more kidnapping can happen. The more you open up the map, the stronger the kidnap comp can become in a lot of cases.
Yeah, this is really, really difficult. The Protector coming down on the Blaze popping the bunker, then instantly dying as he comes out. Muradin being kidnapped directly afterwards. It's just so hard when you have to stagger deaths, trying to shore yourself up, get clear, get something. But really, again, we've come to a point where the game is about, you know, they've got to force a mistake out of TLR, or essentially TLR's got to force their own mistake, which doesn't look like it's going to happen.
No, they are getting this camp again, so they are continuing to do essentially what we're talking about. They're just soaking, getting the support camp, getting camps on this map at least. It's just soaking. It's not, you know, getting camps for the sake of getting camps. You're actually doing it for the experience and the items. They're half a level from 20. OSD needs to find a way to force, but how do you force into a Medivh? How do you force into a kidnap comp? Where one person being too far forward, you get portaled away and you're just dead. It's an impossible situation for OSD, and I don't see TLR making any more mistakes.
Right, because if TLR had a high execution dive comp or something, you could try to... Whoa, Suryu is a little bit far out, but the portal is going to come down, and it's just enough. He's going to walk away. Just like that. The Earthquake trying to force the Polybomb coming out. Papyro also on the Thrall. Woven taking just too much damage and falling down. The Scan coming out, dishing a lot of damage out onto Manby entrance of the back line. But that is going to be a trade. Phoenix is going to go down. Corgi Booty trying to control Stitches, not let him get another hook, but the team is all over the back line. I mean, honestly, Jeb Taco Betos is dishing out the Arcane Rift damage on the back line. Wow.
And it's always a bad feeling when you forget that Arcane Protection is level 7 root or damage in any way a target that has Force of Will on them in a Medivh game, and you end up dying to your own reflected damage. The push is going to be a real thing here. I imagine they're going to Medivh or someone at least back to the point to start capping it instantaneously here in a moment. They're going to push. In the meanwhile, get the front keep wall down. This is going to be their win condition. They get the Triglav Protector. It's looking pretty over.
Yeah, and the entire map is blue. Every camp has been taken by TLR, leaving only the top siege camp for OSD. 20-17 is going to be many minutes before OSD is able to get anything. Chromie will get her level 20s at 18, a slight consolation, but how do you get a pick against the kidnap combo when played well, when played correctly? It looked like they had it on Deckard, but it's just not a thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm kind of wondering if they needed Sansa. There is no class for the. Yes, you can force a will a target, but that's it. And maybe they could have done something with Time Loop to deny the Gorge. Because if you loop the Stitches as he gorges someone, they'll will stick it out first. But it's always obvious when they're right. So you have a brief window where maybe you could counterplay it that way. There's options in that regard. But at this point in the game, I just feels impossible for OSC to come back.
Yeah, I agree. That would probably be something that would have worked. It works against the Kel'Thas as well, and you can use it before the portal comes out, and they're always going to get sent back to that pre-portal position, you know, as far as they get away, as long as they're rewound. But now we have Anderhall Anomaly, Enigmatic trying to siege up onto the Triglav Protector, but 3PX basically able to do 3 damage from his own backline. Corgi Booty taking a lot of damage, popping an early Avatar. Woven looking for a flank, but he's going to be seen by the wave, and the early Pyro plus the chase onto Thrall, while the Protector just knocks on the front wall. I think they're okay with Thrall just leaving there as they knock down the keep 19 minutes in here. Jeb Takobito's looking for Blaze. Corgi Booty a bit far forward, plus Ultra China just out the damage. And looks like they're just going to back up. Oh, Corgi Booty going super deep. Woven is on the back line here. Polybomb coming out. He's going to fall. Looking like they're just trying anything at the end there, which is admirable. And now TLR is going to try to finish this game 1.
Yeah, I think the Protector has enough health that it's going to be able to finish the core or ends up going down. But Enigmatic with Anderhall slowing down the Protector quite a bit. Continuing to stack off of it at 105 right now on that built-in Chromie Q quest, 93%. Looks like he actually will be able to get it down before the core finished at 67%. They end up killing Blaze in the backline, however, and 5v2 on core. Even as annoying as people think old Chromie was, she could not defend it. So that would be game 1 going over to TLR.
Even with 108 stacks, that's actually a crazy amount of stacks by the end there. I think that says a lot that you can have 108 stacks and still not be able to do anything and really finish any heroes off is just really indicative of what went on in that game. Tough loss for OSD, especially considering that was their map pick. I feel like they were just slightly outplayed. They did have some shining moments where they were getting those rotational picks, especially onto the Medivh team, but the high execution comp out of TLR executed well. Hard to argue with that.
It is, and there's a few maps where that's a really viable comp. I'm curious to see if in the next game there's going to be enough respect coming out for that composition that they're going to draft around it specifically, if they're going to do something a little bit different. It's interesting to me to see these late game heroes drafted. Thrall's a hero who you really kind of want level 7, level 10. Chromie, you need to get her stacked up, even though she does get her talents earlier. Getting her Q quest stacked is a big thing for her on Volskaya in particular, where it can snowball so hard. Even despite the picks, the only thing that kept them even going into the second Protector. If they hadn't gotten those picks that they did, they would have gotten completely snowballed even before that second protector got happened. But once the second protector had been secured, the game was basically over. The experience differential was simply too high to be overcome unless they managed to get like a full 5-man wipe.
Yeah, I feel like like we said during the game, basically they created small advantages and then had slight missteps that led to counter picks that were almost of the exact same nature. 1-for-1s 20 seconds later, and then negating any advantage or negating any closing of the gap that they actually managed to do. And it's tough. They're actually making the play to get back in the game, and I don't even think they were necessarily making mistakes. I think TLR was just making more plays on the back end. That's tough. But as long as they can understand that sometimes a team is just better than you on any given day. So